talk about the banking space. We're joined now by Mr. D.K. Mittal, who is the banking secretary on the show. Mr. Mittal, thanks very much for taking the time out and joining in. To start off with, the economy seems to be slowing down. All in all, how hard do you believe the overall impact is going to be on the banking sector?
Without getting into whether there is a slowdown or not, but the fact remains that there is a stress in the on the banking assets, and all public sector banks are fully aware of it. They are aware of it for quite some time, and they have adopted different strategies, which primarily would mean that they have to be close to their customers. They have to understand the requirement of the customers and help the customer to meet this global challenge.
Right, but Mr. Mittal, are there any sectors that you're advising banks not to be lending to?
We do not give such communications that you don't finance this sector, that sector. B, what we do have interaction with banks collectively and understand the issues, that basically to have a cross-bank communication and discussion. The sectors which have stress, which are well known, are starting, some because of localized factors, some because of global factors. For example, steel, primarily because of local factors. Civil aviation, primarily because of local factors. Power, both discom and generation, because of local factors. So I think these are the sectors which are stressful. But MSMEs is one sector which is stressful because of the global factors as well as domestic factors. Textile, again, some domestic factors and some global factors. So I think these are the 5-6 sectors which are having stress at this point of time.
Mr. Mittal, which sectors do you believe are creating maximum stress on asset quality?
No, these sectors have stress, and that is all manageable. It is not something which is going to hit the banking sector in a way that could cause an alarm.
Right, but also, Mr. Mittal, the Greek uncertainty continues. What do you believe the impact of that will be on the Indian economy if Greece does indeed break away from the Eurozone?
See, any global challenge would have two kinds of impact from us. A, my export to that area would get affected. And B, my capital flows will get affected, because if those countries have invested in India, they will withdraw the capital, their institutions. And secondly, if I'm expecting certain flows from them, they will be drying up. Now, India as a country has been working at different strategies and has been having a working plan to meet these challenges.
Sure, and you had the rupee also, which has appreciated little over the last few trading sessions, but it's had still has a long way to recover. So what options do you believe the government has in front of it for the same?
Now, as a commonsensical thing, we need to improve our exports. We need to manage our imports. We need to, see that whether we can manage the volatility in the demand for the dollar. I think different institutions are working on these 3 strategies, and that is how we should be working to see that we manage this present situation what is before us.
Now, Mr. Mittal, the cabinet has given its nod for the banking bill. Are you a little disappointed that it didn't get tabled in this session of the parliament?
No, and as an optimist, I am very happy that we have passed through about 8 bills through our cabinet, and some of them have been introduced in parliament, some would be. So I think the next session should see that all these bills are clear. But that's we feel satisfied. That's a good achievement for us, that we have been able to get so many bills cleared by our cabinet.
And one of the other important issues is the cap on FDI. Do you think the government will go ahead with the 49% in spite of the objection from the standing committee?
That is difficult for me to comment. That's something which I think the parliament will have to take a view, and the government will have to take a view on that at the highest level.
Now, Mr. Mittal, the capital requirements of banks due to Basel III are fairly large. How will the government provide for capital to the public sector banks?
No, in the finance minister has said while introducing the budget that the government is seriously contemplating setting up a financial holding company for the banks. I think that issue from there will have to be taken up now. Once that this has been discussed in parliament and there has not been any adverse comments on this, we have got certain suggestions. So I think that taking that into view, it will be placed before the competent authority to decide. But we would like to move fast on this. I agree with you, there is a requirement for us to create a framework which will help all public sector banks to have adequate capital as per the Basel III. But let me reassure that as per the assessment done by the RBI, the requirement of capital is not pretty high. It is about 1,20,000 crores over the next 5 years' time, which we don't find any difficulty in financing.
Are you looking at a rights issue or an FPO in State Bank of India because SBI will need more capital? Will the government induce more into the same?
At this point of time, no. Market is not ripe for us to go to public issue. At this time, government would like to put in money and invest in the banks.